Too big for him.
The final countdown has begun. With 4 surfers remaining, Rivals has reached the pointy end and it's looking like a photo finish. Top waves have been registered, scores have been logged by you the viewer, and yesterday's heroes have proven age is just a number. The waves haven't always cooperated, but we've saved the best for last. This week, the Tathra tube pig Kai Otton goes in search of some nasty south coast cones. Will he pack a couple of rompers, or will it be Kai who gets smoked?
How big it is? There? That'll be a horse, is it? Who knows, mate? Who knows yet? It's still dark. It might be a cheeky though, I don't know. My name is Kai Otton. I am currently 40 years old and I grew up in Tathra, New South Wales, Australia.
9 years on the world tour, 1 championship victory and a memorable perfect 10 at Chopu capped what was a pretty mental career for the man they call Ottz. The quintessential Australian surfer, he's a whiz in the beach breaks with copybook technique and plenty of flair. Though it's in cones of mortal conequence that Ottz really gets going. He's a tube pig par excellence. So where else would he opt for his Rivals heat than one of the most technical and challenging reef breaks on the east coast of Australia?
Old bones, Kai Otton. I love Otto. He sends it. Like he always talks about that he's scared and stuff like that. But you see his performances from places like Chopu and Cloudbreak and Pipeline. More so than ever, he'll get a 10 or something and blow us all away. But if it doesn't go his way, you'll never hear the end of it. Just doesn't stop talking, mate.
Come out. Come on.
Life on tours, it's a joke. Like, it's a dream. You're getting paid to surf. I always say to my partner, I had the 2 best jobs ever in the world. The second best was actually being a competitive pro surfer. And then the best job ever was the couple of years after I'd finished the tour was being a free surfer, just going surfing. So in a way, it's the only downhill for me, isn't it? I've had number 1 and number 2. But nah, it's the best lifestyle ever, really. Like you get to go to perfect locations and get looked after, and anyone who didn't like it is tripping.
It's the day before Ottz's Rivals heat and he's decided to limber up on a classical south coast beach break. The water is crystal clear, he's surrounded by native bush and there's a couple of fun looking peaks. Let's see the beach break wizard do his thing.
Protect the old weathered head. Hinges, warm up the hinges.
It's like everything, I was tired and worn out at the end of my career. I couldn't find the fight anymore that used to get me through every year. I trained for the first month of 2016, but I felt like I already knew it was over. And I didn't train again after February, and hence my results. I missed out by a couple of heats in the end, but that's what cost me, you know. I just lost the drive. There was annoying kids on there that were just pests. They had no respect, and when you're surfing with them all around the world, even though they're beautiful locations, it was too hard for me to get over the fact that I was surfing with wankers and they weren't making it fun, and I'd carry that into heats and I'd lose because I was angry. It was pretty funny. But yeah, kids coming on the scene were just rude. I don't know, I got over it, which is a shame because it is the best job in the world, but even then you can get worn out, and it happens to everyone. Your time of your day in the sun comes to an end, and yeah, I had a good 10 years at it. Well, I was hoping for 1 year and got 10, so it was pretty good.
After a dream run through the elite ranks of professional surfing, Comrade Kai is back on the hammer and sickle. He lived the two best lives any young Australian could hope for, that of a competitive surfer and a paid free surfer. Now Kai's traded ground swells and crisp offshores for broom handles and drop saws.
Your apprentice is good, eh? Good handy fella. Lucky I got my brace on. Sweet. For a job, I'm actually working in the building industry. Started working with a good friend of mine and just been doing chippy work. It's been pretty fun, learning new trades and a lot of new skills. I'd done a little bit of it previous because I'd done a couple of renovations, so I always enjoyed doing it. It was probably a bit easier when it was on your own house or your own pad or something, but yeah, it's a great trade. I'm really enjoying it. Changes every day, there's something new. You know, just recently we've been doing a lot of retaining walls with all the fires that happen throughout the area, and you know, you're meeting new people, you're hearing their stories, it's pretty fun. Some of their stories aren't that good, obviously, like fires, but I'm enjoying it, it's good. It's hard work, I whinge about my body. It's not as easy as getting massages in the contest area, but yeah, new trade, new chapter. You start working and it feels good for a year. There's definitely a second year syndrome, like you miss surfing. I wasn't surfing that much last year, I guess, but I was working, it was all new and it was cool, but this year's been a really good run of waves and it's been hard to drive to work. You start getting a bit eggy, but it's life. You gotta just remember you had such a good time. One of the lucky ones, one of the 1%, I reckon. Maybe even 0.5% that gets to do what we did.
After the break, Kai looks back on the tragedy of the Tathra bushfires.
So you can see the tree line is all burnt and that's where the fire came through. So a lot of those houses are pretty unlucky on that ridge line. Somehow this wooden guy survived. He's had a wooden house and everyone around him burnt down. I don't even know how it's possible. And all these guys here, that's where it started up over the, if you can see through, up behind that ridge. And it just went this way.
Out of the bush reared a frightening fireball, and as it bore down on the sleepy hamlet of Tathra, Black Sunday had arrived.
At this point in time, we are attempting to save houses on a priority basis.
As for the 1,600 residents, they could only grab what they could and ran.
The fire that went through Tathra actually it first hit at the top of the street that I actually live on, but it kind of went on an angle where it went northwest and I was kind of more north, so it went past kind of the ridge line above my house. So just after it, when I went back to my house, it was, all the bush was burnt towards the ocean, kind of, you know, a K up the ridge from me. Some people just lost everything. It was pretty devastating, and they're pretty aggressive fires when they happen like that. Nothing really can stop it. Yeah, it jumped through to the middle of town. You never would have thought. There's houses dead in the middle of Tathra that burnt down from embers. Like, you just couldn't imagine a fire ever getting there, and it got there. It jumped over the first, not a house burned on the edge of the forest in one street, but then across the road it just bounced through houses and burned them all through town. It was like the weirdest thing, you can't even imagine it. So it was definitely an eye-opener. To show you how gnarly it was, there's a house here, this big thing burnt down here, right in the middle of town. It's that far away from the bush. See there? That block of land's empty. That dead set burnt down in the fires somehow. The next fires came and they threatened Tathra but didn't actually take off, but that was the bad ones that burn all kind of inland where I've been working a lot. And the guys that I'm working on their house, like, they saved their house, but they had to hide, you know, under the car. There's no oxygen left, and then him and his dad, this guy was passing out, breathing this little pocket of air, and their eyes are burnt, and their throats are burnt, and they survived somehow. And then when it kind of daylight was coming, they had to get out of there and the son had to take the dad to hospital. He had to go across 3 different power lines that had fallen down. He's like throwing sticks on them, and then he had to just run the gauntlet with the bolt cutters to cut through to get him to hospital. So the whole story was gnarly, blew me away. And that's just 1 in 1,000 out there. Like, there's so many. I did some fencing for another family that just had these tornadoes go through their fence and it pushed all their cattle and that into these rocks, and it was like a war zone. And yeah, just every story down there has been pretty intense. And that's the second lot of fires that went through that area. Definitely our region, you know, tourism-wise and that, a lot of people rely on stuff like that, has been pretty affected. So it'll bounce back. It's not going anywhere. It's just had a little bit of a hiccup.
3 billion animals killed or injured, hundreds of millions of dollars in damage, 34 lives lost, and a climate that's only getting hotter and drier. After the devastation of 2 of the worst bushfire seasons on record, the South Coast is fighting back.
People are always still going to come back. It's just, it's getting ready to, let's get some flow through there again, I guess, for those small towns. There's a lot of, not even revolving around surfing, just there's beautiful little communities like Mogo, that's up the coast from Tathra, that got devastated. That's a great spot to stop. Cabargo, the one where I was working, they're all beautiful little country towns. Doesn't have to revolve around surfing, but yeah, it's there's heaps to do, heaps of little, you know, stores and great little community vibe, and towns to stop at on your way to somewhere. Yeah, they need support for sure. Build it back up.
From the ashes, the phoenix rises. As the burned trees regenerate and the wildlife slowly returns, the people that populate this majestic, rugged and resilient region are also beginning to find their groove. From shucking oysters to schwacking lips and the odd big green cone, the South Coast is calling out for visitors right now. Spend your money and your time down south next holiday break.
There's a heap of old dogs in it from what I can see. It's a blast from the past, old rivals. Hopefully smash the Queenslanders, just sick of them Maroons. It's a New South Wales dynasty anyway, isn't it, at the moment? So we'll go New South Wales for the win, and we'll get rid of them Queenslanders, especially Kersey, Joel, Mick, beat it. Mick's New South Wales actually, sorry Mick. Love you mate. Joel can beat it though, I think he's Queensland to the bone. Probably owes me a few 100,000, doesn't he, Joel, you reckon? A couple of heats, here and there. No, it's just be fun to get out surfing again. I don't surf that much and felt like the right thing to do.
With his tour career a wrap, Ottz has found solace in the simple joys of family life.
Oi, come on.
3 or 4 out that way.
Come
They're
here.
a distance out.
Jelly! Oi, come here, now! What are you gonna do now? Hey, what are you gonna do? Nothing, see? Nothing. Tathra's a little pocket on the far south coast, New South Wales. Little bit of gold. Yep, deep south, New South Wales. Growing up in Tathra was amazing. We, as kids, we got to go camping, and it was just that real country lifestyle, easy going. Yeah, just, you know, like kids do, riding your bikes around town, pretty carefree as when you're young, and meet up with your mates. You know, we had no phones, we had nothing like that. You had to ring a landline. If you missed your mate, you had to ride around town for 2 hours trying to find where they were. I think it was a good way to grow up, a bit different than today. Living when I was 0 to 5, that little thing. No, a little brick house right here. Hasn't changed. Outside dunny and everything. Not that I remember. Going. It's all good to have this, but I reckon it'd be half the reason we don't get a breakwall at the river mouth because we've got this mad natural inlet. I would have loved a left wedge off a breakwall up the northern end, but you know, this is good too. I really appreciate the way I grew up and where I grew up, and that's why I've moved back down the coast, because I want to raise my young kids down there. It's a really, really good upbringing. I'll be driving around town with no plan and I'll see my mates in the front yard and it's no qualms to pull up and chat and then your kids play or whatever. Like, I remember being in parks in DY freaking out because there's no fences and there's 1,000 kids and you're like, you can't even breathe. You gotta just keep your eye on your kid, whereas you got, you know, 5 different people at the park at home, so you can relax a bit. That kind of style, that's the thing I like. That's why I'd like to raise my kids down there for sure. I've always wanted to try and be a pro surfer, but I was pretty bad and I was pretty little at that age. I was 17, turning 18 that year, I think. And I remember some of the guys even told me later, they're like, when I got to town, they're like, wow, how's this super Grom? He's unbelievable for his age. And then they're like, found out I was 18, they're like, oh, that poor kid, he's struggling. Like, they thought I was 11, not 18. And they thought I was going nowhere, which was kind of true at the time because I chased the junior series and I never even made a quarter final in a junior series at all. I think our career prize money was like $150 in the junior series total the whole time I did it. I think I made that in Bells one time. You know, and guys that I ended up on tour with and that bought cars and had big sponsorships and everything at that time. It was pretty funny. I was paying $80 a week rent and living on the sand in Manly. But admittedly, I was only earning $200 a week or something, so half my money was gone on rent. But my bed was above the washing machine and the dryer in this tiny little apartment, but it looked out over the beach, and that's all I cared about surfing. So I wasn't taking in the city too much. I hardly even went across into the city like at all in my whole, you know, the first 10 years I was there. I wasn't partying or anything, and you know, the city life didn't scare me. It was different. It's faster. There's more people, but yeah, I felt pretty comfy with it because I always had a goal, I guess, and I didn't really care. I was pretty narrow-minded to what I wanted to achieve, I think.
After the break, Kai takes to the water for his rivals heat.
There's definitely that bit of mystery about whether I'm actually going to get surf or not. I'm like not the best at reading the maps. I normally ring people. I've probably rung a few people about this one the last few days.
The sun is yet to rise and the swell is hit with earnest. Can Kai pack the mortal cone?
Even though you got all the apps, all the readings and that, you can still blow it pretty easy. Just be a bit big or a bit small, or the tide might not cooperate. There's a heap of things in it, especially around here from Sydney to the border. A lot of ways. There's also a lot of ways you can mess it up. Go down the wrong track, take you an hour to come back in and out. Let's hope I pick the right chart and get it done. It's definitely got a bit of a combo swell happening. It's a bit hard to pick.
It might be a bit peaky though, I don't know.
Can't tell right now.
Who knows, mate? Who knows yet?
It's still dark. Maybe less light now in the face.
Early bird gets the worm. As day breaks, Kai makes his way to the takeoff spot. It's 4 to 5 foot of the most irregular orbs you've ever seen, and there's not a soul in sight. Yet. Oh, Kai having a sniff. Look at this thing. Whoa. Oh, he scooped straight into one up the top here. Nice little in-out. Doesn't mind if the old in-out, Kaiser. Big hack in the pocket. Yeah, see that on replay. It's not a wave. It's synonymous with cutbacks, but he's managed to jam one in there. Oh, look at this thing. Oh my God. Get over. Oh, is he coming out of that? Holy smokes. Little jammy. Thing's pretty mental. See that again. Ah, very nice. Smoothly done. Wow. Incredible conditions. Oh, a bit of a bomb up the top. Stand tall. Kidding? Look at this dream sequence. Backlit South Coast bliss. Map. Now we're down and Kai's having a hell time. Couple of nugs, couple of near makes, and a couple of mind-bending orbs. Are you kidding me? Here goes Kai winding up on a big bowly one out the back. Sets his rail and darts. Big hack out the top. Oh, little pocket ride on the inside. Nice completion. As we see the replay. Wow, that is glorious. Holy smokes, this thing's a bomb. Oh my lord, is he coming out? Oh, check the replay. Look at the angle on this thing. He gets across the wedge. And that thing is like a glass sculpture. Look at him still traveling. Oh my lord. Oh, he's full of confidence now and just bulldogs his way into that thing. Oh, that thing went square on the end. What's he got for us? Big end section hack. As we see the bodyboarders having a mad time on a wave that really they made famous. Wow. Oh, here goes Kaiser. On the knee low angle. What? Are you kidding me? That was one of his best scores. Oh, this is a bomb out the back. Plenty of chamber time. That was sick. Look at him just in rhythm, getting drained off his nana. Are you kidding me? Let's have another look at that one. So deep. That's an absolute gem. Look at this thing. Perfect pipeline. Come out. Wow, that is mental. Really gets nicked, but just the experience paying dividends for Ottz.
It all happened pretty quick and there was a lot of waves ridden. It was close. It was pretty fun. Probably not as big as I thought. It might be a bit different angle. It's one of them ones. A couple of head dips. Would have liked it a couple foot bigger. Still really fun. Had a good surf and there's some good moments. It was nice.
Ottz has locked in some absolute stoinkers there. Head to mysurf.tv to rate his top 3 rides. Wave number 1, a big one on the outside, bulldogs his way into it, and then gets this big end section and just hacks it. Are you kidding me? And then this one, way up the top again, scoops into it, blown out of it, and kicks out of it. And this one perfectly positioned, pumping, oh, so deep. Narrowly avoids a lip in the head. That was mental.
I'm not sad that it wasn't as best it gets, but I had a really fun surf, that's all that mattered.
On next week's show, we go deep with the Cooley kids, Mick, Joel and Dingo.